Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Hang on, that's not going to work. That's going to work. Hello. Did that work?
Did what? I don't know what working means. What
Oh,
does
if
not
you can,
working
if you
look
can
like?
hear me asking if it worked, then it worked.
It
Um,
worked.
yes, yay, it
Oh,
worked. Hello, friends. How's everybody doing out there? I'm just frantically closing windows. Normally, when we do these little stream things, we sort of gather in the lobby a few minutes before we kick off and have a quiet moment of what are we going to talk about and make sure that we've closed all the windows that shouldn't appear on the screen share and all that sort of jazz. And today was a bit of a YOLO, wasn't it? Like, oh yeah, no, let's go. 15 minutes late, and
yes.
so yes, which is fine. Oh, I should close Winamp. I found a hard drive with all my old. So I like a lot of people. I have a lot of music that I got during that lovely little period when Napster ruled the world, and so we used to have LAN parties.
Yes.
And it was customary at a LAN party that the person with the biggest hard drive would set up a public share, and everybody would just copy all their stuff into the same public share, like a sort of giant stone soup of data and demos and music and videos and all kinds of stuff. And then at the end, you would copy as much of that as you had the space for. And so I got this vast library of MP3s, all of which I own licenses for because I own the CDs, but I lost them in a freak gardening accident, honestly, Mr. FBI. And then at some point, I lost the MP3s. But by that point, I'd used Apple's iTunes Match to say, this is all my music, because they had this thing where it's like, if you can prove you got the MP3s, then we'll let you listen to it from the cloud. And then they did a thing of like, oh, you can download your iTunes Match. So I did, but it meant I got M4As, and it's not the same. You know, it's like when you wanted Transformers and you got GoBots. You're just like, no, I know that to an external observer they're indistinguishable.
Dojo drummer, if you're expecting us to stay on topic for the next 2 hours, we're going to be sorely disappointed. I'm sorry. There's going to be about 50% content and 50% absolute blather.
It ain't that kind of movie, kid.
It's exactly.
So anyway, yeah, I found all my old MP3s, actual MP3s on an external hard drive that I didn't know still worked. And it's like, yay. And it's just this weird thing of like all these bands like Tabitha's Secret that like you've forgotten that was a band. So you forget when people talk about, oh, 80s music was great. No, the great 80s music was great. You forget how much dross there was in the 80s. Like if you sit and watch an episode of Top of the Pops from 1984, it will maybe have one song on it which went on to become a timeless classic, and the rest is just absolute dross. It really is. So
yeah.
Anyway, yes, should we give our consumers some content? Because
let's do that.
Let's do that. Let's incentivize engagement to.
Why don't you catch me up to where the hell we were?
I was just about to get Claude to catch me up to where the hell we were.
Or even better.
Don't save that. Don't save that. Close that. Close that. My word. So I have been. I have not been using Claude to do anything on the project that we've been doing on stream here. I have now got to the point where Claude Code is just a sort of part of my coding working life. But I think certainly in a different way to the way that I get the impression that you've been using it. For me, it's got to a point where if I don't know how to do a thing, I will just say to Claude, do this, and then I will look at what it did, and I'll be like, all right. And most of it immediately makes sense. And when there's something that doesn't, I go kind of digging and scratching around. And I've been having excellent results. There's a project that I'm working on. I think I can tell you about it. It's NDC, their conference websites. They're on Next.js and creaking a little bit, and lots of bits are out of date. And they kind of came to me and said, "Can you help with this?" And so I'm doing a bunch of work on that. And the backend is a content management system called Sanity. And Sanity is like, oh, we've got our own MCP server. So Claude knows how to do stuff with migrations and deployments. Question from Nick. Hello, Nick. I used to work with Nick a long time ago when I lived in Winchester, back in the days of classic ASP and VB script. Why did we choose Claude Code over Copilot in Visual Studio?
Because it's better.
Is the simple answer.
So I There are people now claiming that OpenAI's Codex with GPT 5.4 is better than Claude with 4.6. The thing is that for all of these terminal coding environments, Claude Code is the one that most people use, and they do things in Claude Code that become standards for the others to sort of imitate. So Anthropic Claude Code was the thing where they kind of went, oh, if you put stuff in a skills folder, then we'll do this with it. If you put stuff in a commands folder, they kind of they're defining the way these things work. And the combination of Opus 4.6 for planning and requirements gathering and doing something I'm going to be doing while also trying to focus on streaming. Yeah, I've got, so we're going to be running workshops. And I've got a website that is, it's functional, and it will go to, it's the pages, the static pages are sort of hosted on Cloudflare pages. And then there are some workers on Cloudflare workers that talk to a Google Sheet and some other places and do the kind of interactive things. And when I deploy it using GitHub and do a git push and it deploys, the static pages work. And when I deploy it using npx wrangler deploy from the command line, the workers work, but the two things are mutually exclusive. And I spent some time yesterday trying to solve that with Sonnet 4.6, and it just kept sort of toggling between the two states. So I am going to be using Opus 4.6 to try and figure it out today. Also, I have just turned on extra usage.
I had to do that last week.
Yeah, it's a very handy thing. You can set a limit on it. You can sort of go, I don't want to spend more than £20 a month on extra usage. But when you hit your daily limit or your 5-hourly limit or something, the thing that I want it the most for is that when it says, oh, we're now into extra usage, I can just kind of at least finish what's currently happening and write a dev log, and it's not that, and we're literally halfway through something. So yeah. And I don't know if OpenAI provides that sort of thing. I suspect they probably do, but I'm at the point now where I would need a reason to switch.
So the other thing it's kind of worth mentioning in response to Nick's question is I have been using Copilot particularly in VS Code for the last year or so in agent mode, where I just ask it to build things for me and so on. And one of the sort of explicit briefs of doing this set of streams was me going, what is this agent stuff that everyone's talking about? And what do you mean it doesn't use Visual Studio? How do you write software without Visual Studio? And so, a big chunk of it is how does this, so we are explicitly saying we are going to do this approach on certainly the current iteration of these streams. The biggest difference to me is Claude doesn't run inside anything. Claude is just a terminal window where you chat about stuff. Copilot has always been, almost implicit in the name. You are the human programmer, and you have a little tool strapped onto the side of it which can help you do things. But the workflow has always very much been about, what if you were still writing code in an IDE but faster? Whereas Claude kind of completely flips that around to be like, what if you didn't need an IDE at all, because I will do all of that for you? And part of this is, validating for me, is that really a thing that actually happens? Like, we do that now and it works. But it is and we're going to have a couple of people probably guesting on it who are doing things like, you had Ben on last week, didn't you? Yes. Ben Dekrai, who, as I understand, I haven't managed to catch up on that one yet, is basically just running Claude and talking to it over WhatsApp or something.
He uses an app called happy.engineering.
Yeah.
Which, if you leave Claude sessions running on your home server, it sort of tail scales or proxies through to your home server, and you can, as long as there is a minimum of one agent running, a sort of orchestration agent, then you can get it to do all sorts of other things. So Micro 500, the difference between Copilot and Claude, it is essentially Copilot runs inside VS Code or in Visual Studio. And so it's much more like pair programming. It's less agentic. It's a kind of weird halfway house. The one thing I think is really interesting is JetBrains, who make killer IDEs. I mean, they make my favorite IDEs. I use Rider for .NET. I use WebStorm if I have to do front end stuff. I use PyCharm for Python. They're great. But since Claude turned up, I can get the vast majority of my work done. I sometimes will use one of the IDEs to do some refactoring, where it's easier for me to refactor, and I don't need to use Claude to do it. But the majority of my workflow, I have Claude running in terminal, maybe multiple tabs, and I have Z, the Z editor, open so that I can look at the code. And yes, so you can use the Claude plugin in VS Code, and that sort of hooks it into Copilot or something, or, works like Copilot. But what we're doing is we open a terminal window and we type Claude, and it goes into essentially a REPL, like a REPL with some TUI elements to it. But it's like a conversation. And JetBrains, and I'm planning on doing a stream possibly over the weekend. Oh no, because I've got somebody coming to stay. But so one day next week, when Dylan isn't available, I'm going to jump on a stream because I have JetBrains Toolbox in my status bar, and I went to launch something yesterday, and it went air, and I'm kind of like, what is air? And so air is JetBrains making essentially an agent control environment where you can have multiple agents. You can connect GPT and Claude and Gemini and Junie, which is JetBrains' own AI agent thing. And you can literally, it's task focused. And so you can have multiple workspaces open, but it's like a view only thing. And so, yeah, I'm going to take a look at that, see how it compares to just using Claude directly from the terminal. Where were we?
So Claude says, now, in terms of where Claude thinks we are, we're working on Video Jam. It's WPF Video App. Yes, that's fine. We got a bunch of specs and other bits and pieces in there, and we got a spec directory. Now, we got to a point towards the end of the last session where, let me just bring up another terminal window here, and we'll take a look at Dojo Drummer has a very important question.
Yeah. I mean, if I had to choose just one, it would be Fender Precision.
Yes, that is the correct answer to that question.
Yeah.
So there we go. Good. I'm glad we cleared that up.
Although what I actually have is caught Artisan Space 5, which is a headless soap bars, double soap bars.
My favorite
5-string.
My favorite bass of all the ones I've ever played is my PV Millennium 5-string. PV just make lovely bass guitars, but I'm a big fan of headless Steinbergers as well. So I told you we weren't going to stay on topic.
Yes.
So we got to here. So it's now all of the code in here has been written by Claude. Apart from one thing, I changed the number to make a column narrower or wider on a particular thing. And so it's built this application which will allow you to load a folder full of media files. And so I came away from the end of the last stream with a little bit of I think sort of disappointment, like it was all going so well, and very reminiscent of situations I've had in my career where you're outsourcing something to a development agency, and you have a bunch of meetings with them, and then lovely people, and it's all really positive, and they're like, we're working on this, and it's great, and they show you little bits and pieces, and then there's that, they go, ta-da, it's done, and you look at it and you're like, oh, it's not, no, not done. It's not done. And at that point, it's always like, well, okay, one, how did we get here? How do we prevent this situation happening next time? And two, what do we do about it now? So this is what we got, and we got this thing here, which will, there we go. So each one of these things here, now we had a bit of to and fro about getting drag and drop working properly, which actually worked very, very well in terms of getting the application to pay attention to feedback given conversationally, as opposed to writing unit tests or mockups or anything. But we got to this point now where there's a play button here, and we got this little feedback loop, and none of these controls here are wired up properly. So even if I go and I mute all of these elements, it persists the state of those controls to the backing file, but it doesn't actually. So if I mute everything, now you folks won't hear the audio because I'm not sharing desktop audio. But I mean, if I crank the speakers up, you'll hear it. 1, 2, 3. That's quite a lot of music for a track that is supposed to have everything muted on it. And so you think you're only showing, oh, bloody hell. So StreamYard has this thing where when you go, thank you for pointing that out, share screen. And of course, it lets you share a window instead of the entire screen. But when you've got a full screen console, sorry about that. Yeah, there we go. Right. We're going to do all of that all over again. So it looks like this, and we can chop and choose between different tracks, and you can see it loads different bunches of files because I've got isolated stems for all these different songs. And when I hit play there, 2, 3. And we've got, all these. Now that should be completely muted, but obviously it's not. And so I think my colleague is frantically multitasking. There's a lot of very, very frenetic typing coming out of the other audio channel.
Oh, you're going to be so cross when you see what I'm actually typing.
What are you actually typing?
There you go. It's just going into the chat now. I'm just letting people know which precision base they should buy.
Oh, that one, yes, very important.
The professional 2 5-string.
Yes, all bases should have 5 strings.
All bases should have 5 strings.
I played a jam night in a pub the other week. We did "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd, which is in B. And of course, with the low B, you just get this.
Yes. Oh,
and the whole it's beautiful.
Love it
anyway,
so much.
So yeah, that's what we got to. Save before closing. Yes, and you save it, and it doesn't actually quit. And we now need to go over here and kill the process to get it to go away properly.
And now the mute and volume levels weren't actually binding to the things.
And so I sort of, like I said, came away from the last iteration going, all right, well, that was fun while it lasted, but clearly it's not actually any good. Now, part of that is there is still a little bit of me that open transparency bias. There's part of me that wants all this to fail because I like writing code and I want to keep getting paid for it. And
very sensible, Dorothy.
Yeah.
The correct number of bases to own is +1, where n is the number of bases you currently own.
But also, I want to understand where do we go from here? Like, clearly, this is something I know a lot of very smart people are getting good results with. And so what's the next step? And I thought, well, let's imagine that we're dealing with a bunch of human developers and they've shipped this prototype and it's not quite the right thing. And what do we do? It is incredibly difficult to talk when you're typing that loud. It's like that thing where they play your own voice back to you in the background. I don't know if it's the mic picking it up or something, but it is uncharacteristically voluminous.
I'm going to try and type really quietly.
So what I think we want to do is I want to open now. I want to fire up one of these personas we've got, and I want to say to it, look, we're not quite happy with how this is going. We have problems. How do you suggest we mitigate them? Which persona should we use to do that? So we've got our analyst, we've got our architect, we've got our, this is where in a normal company, we'll send our account manager to talk to you. But obviously account managers are pointless and shouldn't exist in the glorious future. So yes. Which persona do you think is the best one to be like, all right, let's tweak the specs and rewrite some of the prompts and overhaul the plan?
I think that would be the analyst. I think you are going back to that stage.
Yeah. So what we've got
we need to revisit our requirements.
Is actually, let me open this in VS Code because it's easier to see what's where. So we've got, there's the folder, and there's Claude, and there's our prompts, and there's our requirements analyst. So if we load Claude minus system, I don't have aliases set up for this yet. I do for the dev and the QA. Claude / prompts / requirements analyst system prompt. Okay. And let it open up the MCP and block the StreamYard window with it, which is all part of the fun.
Hurrah.
Okay, so Llewellyn says,
yeah, and I agree. I was going to say exactly the same thing.
So first of all, we are going to upgrade Opus 4.6 with million contexts, which I'm guessing is only available because I've given it a credit card if I go over.
Yes, no, do not use.
No.
You don't need the million context. The million. Yeah. So this is an interesting thing, and actually Sonnet with a million token context. Interesting. So anyway, we have spoken before about context rot, which sets in when you get to about 60 or 70% of the context window. But we were talking about that when that was 200,000 tokens. So we were talking about 120 to 130,000. And now we have the million token window, and it's kind of like, well, does that now become 500,000 tokens? No, it doesn't. The issue still persists. When you hit, it is still around that sort of 150,000. If you get to 150,000, you really want to restart, and with a sort of new clear context window. And the million token context, there are things that it's really good for. It's great in Claude Desktop if you're just doing like co-work, exploring a lot of files and everything. If you are starting a new job and you want to analyze like an enormous code base, like a monorepo, or like git clone all the sort of miniature repos, the microservice repos, into a directory, and then tell Claude to go and explore all of them simultaneously. That's the point where a million token context window is useful, when there's an enormous quantity of data to crunch. Just using it so you can have a longer conversation is less helpful. So yes, there you go.
Right.
Oh, the other good thing about it is you can load the entire script for Hamlet into it, and then get it to auto-correct transcription. But that's an expensive way to do that.
Right. So what I'm going to do, unless explicitly advised otherwise, is I am going to have a conversation with the analyst that I would have had with a vendor who I'd paid to deliver some software. Hello, I have some concerns about what's being delivered. There. Yes, I am aware that there is voice control. Yes, I'm aware there are all kinds of fun things you can do with it. We did try switching that on the other week, but it got a little bit wobbly because StreamYard's using the microphone as well.
Yeah.
Okay, what specifically is worrying you? I'm just going to brain dump at it. So let's just okay. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff in the UI that doesn't actually do anything, and I don't know whether. And there's a bunch of stuff in the other that'll do. And some features about video playback that were working, but now they don't work. And also, we probably missed a few things in the initial requirements.
Finagling.
Now, yesterday I went into my .claude/settings.json, which I will show you because it is a file that can be opened. So if I go code /.claude/settings.json. Oh, that's interesting. I edited that file yesterday, and that's not because you can replace all the verbs that it uses. I saw a lovely post from Simon Wardley saying, instead of finagling and wibbling, it came up with wibbling. And wibbling was a term my friends and I used at university for when somebody had imbibed too much recreational substances and ceased to make any coherent sense at all. And it was a little bit on the nose. So anyway, that's an aside. Right. Okay. So UI elements. I'd like to. What is the name of this project? How do you not know that? What are we paying you for exactly?
Yes. Is there's the requirements document somewhere. You need to sort of point it
which
at
you
it.
wrote. Is this context rot?
No, this is memory. And actually something that I want to look at is there are various solutions, including one that our friend Thingamy has written. But yes, there are various solutions to give Claude a memory, like a more structured memory. And people are doing this with kind of markdown files with a few extra standards, front matter, and that kind of thing.
So what we're doing right now is chatting to the requirements persona. Now, this persona should never write any code. So all it's doing is figuring out what's wrong, and then I'm hoping we'll update the requirements file or create some sort of artifact that can be then passed down the chain. So only the primary display gets video. That is the only regression so far. Front matter is the new gray matter.
Yes.
The volume sliders and mute buttons don't do anything. Their state is saved to the show file, but they don't affect playback. This seems like completely the wrong way to approach this. Nope, that one. Rambling Geek says you should pick up a mic arm. You can get one for free with a Fender Precision 5-string bass, you know?
No, you don't. So, microphone. there's a road boom for this.
Yeah.
Upstairs. What I have completely lost, and it's somewhere in my spare room, but that's like saying the solar system is somewhere in the local galactic cluster. But yes, I will either find it or I will have to order a replacement and really hope that Rode sell just that bit that attaches the arm to the desk. But also the microphone, my mic is not on the desk. My mic is AirPods. But the problem with AirPods is the microphone part of them point at your laptop if you're using a laptop.
Yeah. Okay, good. So what I've done, so the underlying frustration here, I have worked before on, and I'm sure many of you folks have, software where the screen is full of buttons that aren't wired up yet. And what happens is the people who are in charge of kind of testing it and making sure it works, they get into the habit of just not clicking the buttons because they know they don't work. And then when you say finally test the thing, what you've done is you've sort of conditioned them to be terrible at testing the thing by consistently asking them to test something which is not actually fit for purpose. And this is to be just a massive anti-pattern. And what you want is every time the testers see something new, that new thing is ready to kick around and work. Like, you don't put the button on until it's wired up. The button is the last thing you show them. Are there any other UI elements that are present? Not at this stage.
So, Eli, hello.
Are we going to talk about Nauer's theory of
No, we're not, because I don't think this is something that we can fit into a break in the stream, not least because I need to go off and read Nor's theory of theory building software development.
No, you don't. You just paste it into Claude and get it to summarize it for you.
Well, yes, obviously you do that, but and I will. You know I will. We should jump on a stream. We should jump on a separate stream and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because I have the PDF up here, and there's the present discussion is a contribution to the understanding of what programming is. It suggests that programming properly should be regarded as an activity by which the programmers form or achieve a certain kind of insight, a theory of the matters at hand. This suggestion is in contrast to what appears to be a more common notion that programming should be regarded as a production of a program and certain other texts. Which is that, I don't know when this is from. It's 85? Like this is from 85, yeah.
I was writing in the 80s, I think, yeah.
He wrote Programming as Theory Building in 1985. It was reprinted in his collection of works, Computing a Human Activity. So yes, let me sort of catch up on that and jump on a stream. Dylan can join if you want. We could do.
I do have a, yeah, I'd love to do that. I do have a very pithy answer to that. Which is, it's much easier to sell code than it is to sell the idea that you have a mental model of a process.
Yes.
And that's not to say that one of them is more valuable. It's easier to sell. There have, the whole, what Alberto Brandolini calls the dungeon master, the person who built version 1 of the system, who has the person who can look at a screen of code and go, oh yeah, that's not right. And you're like, how do you know it's not right? And they're like, because I have a model in my head of how this business operates and how the code is supposed to behave. And what I see on the screen does not reflect that. And they tweak it and they fix it. And that, it doesn't scale. It's a horrible single point of failure process. It is also so productive, it will blow your socks off when you have one person who has a detailed mental map of the entire business workflow, accounting, authentication, all the things. And you can say to them, hey, can we put a pay now button on this screen? And it takes them about 10 seconds to think through the database tables, the schema, the cache invalidation, the authentication, the cookies, the payment integration, and go, yeah, give me half an hour. And I have worked with those people, and I have occasionally been that person.
Yes.
And
you can generally sort of count them on the fingers of one hand, though.
Yeah.
It's a very rare and wonderful thing. I can
It is.
think of one at the moment.
It is incredibly fragile, is the problem. Is if that person is unavailable, you never get it back. The second you start scaling that team, the second that there are things going to production that person has not crafted, their mental model is now out of date because it no longer reflects that. And, I love Naua's idea. It is a hard thing to sell. I enjoy my life more when I am formulating mental models of things that I'm not getting paid for, as opposed to getting given money for things I don't understand, but they just need it shipped now because it's down and it's broken, and just fix it, we don't care. But one of them you get paid for and the other one you don't. So,
yep.
The Rockstar interpreter is a lovely example of something that I built purely for the joy of formulating the mental model of how the system should behave, and involved a huge amount of work. And I occasionally get a paid keynote out of telling the story of how I did it. But the mental model ain't worth shit. Nothing. Completely valueless in a capitalist economy. Okay, what's something that should have been in the original document but wasn't? So when we're playing a file, a track, it would be nice if the performer video file replaced the sliders and mute buttons in the main application window instead of opening on a separate screen. Or even better, if the video files played in dockable, maximizable windows, so we can drag them to where they need to be, and they remember this between sessions, instead of having them hard assigned to specific displays. Don't lock the windows. This is what I found quite interesting, is when it's like, oh, it's remembered from the requirements doc that this is a live performance application. Not a concern. And a part of the, the sort of the back and forth, the to and fro on the mental model of how this all works, is these kind of sessions give you the illusion of a, very basically Claude's requirements analyst makes you think this thing's amazing. It's going to get everything right off the bat. It understands me. It knows what we want. And then it ships software that doesn't work, which is painfully reminiscent of if you've ever worked with an outsourced team where they have an account manager who is based in, London for all the ones I've ever done, but then all of the actual coding is offshore somewhere or taking place in, I've done things, teams in the Philippines, teams in various places in places where the cost of living is cheap, so they don't have to pay the developers so much, which is maybe like the whole Opus Haiku sonnet is like that for a new generation. It's the whole, do you want this written by programmers in San Francisco, programmers in Warsaw, or programmers in Manila? And there's a sliding cost scale. So, okay.
The original requirements say the primary display gets taken over by video during playback and the app UI comes back between songs. With this windowed model, would you instead want the app UI to stay visible at all times?
Keep the app UI visible, but with the option to Alt-Tab so it's behind a video window.
I think also just like having controls like on YouTube, where if you move the mouse, the controls appear and they sort of fade when you don't touch the thing for 5 seconds.
Yeah, except we already told it. Yeah, so we had a requirement. Controls aren't really a thing, because very
Because it's
seldom.
keyboard controlled, isn't it? It's like
it's keyboard control,
pause
and it's very
next,
much
yeah.
stop and go. Yeah. Should the video windows show the well that's tricky. Video windows should show the fallback image. I'm going to do that thing of explaining the context now. So here's the reason. When nothing is playing, we don't want the audience staring at the Windows desktop wallpaper. We want a fallback image, so the big screen on the stage is always showing something relevant to the show when it's not playing video. Okay, yep. Hello, 8th C Path Patil 901. Yeah, it came randomly in YouTube feed. Cool. Are you coding with AI?
Like.
Yes.
We are coding with AI. We're coding with Claude.
So I have a Google News alert set up on my name to see if anyone ever writes about me in the newspaper. And once in a while, there are certain YouTube channels like CNN and things, which Google considers to be news. And so whenever CNN publishes an article, if one of the things that appears alongside it in the YouTube algorithm is one of my videos, I get a little ping on it. And this popped up on there the other day. We were, Claude Code Part 2 was being recommended alongside something. What else was missed from the original? That's it for now. How do we get all that lot fixed? And the spec and other bits updated accordingly.
I'm so glad that 8th C Path Patil, because that was going to go one of two ways. It was either going to be difficult, or it was going to be hateful swines, the destruction of humanity, and blah 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 blah.
I shall say before what I have said many, many times, it is absolutely unacceptable to hate that which you do not understand. If you are going to hate AI, you need to learn it first, and you need to understand what it can do, and what does it cost, and how does it work. And if at the end of all of that, you still decide that it is horrible, I will respect that. But the people going, oh, I just hate it. Yeah, it's ick. I get it. There's so much horrible ick in the world that wouldn't be there because the people using. Did you see the Anil Dash podcast, which I've not listened to yet, because when I tried to listen to it, the WordPress site it was hosted on was infected with malware, and I played with that for half an hour instead. But this was on Canned Podcast. This was the quote that I just thought, one of the most salient things I've seen. If you have a platform that's for a purpose, it's very easy to keep it on topic and solve problems for that purpose. It's true whether it's an LLM, it's true whether it's a social network. When technology is meant to serve a purpose for a community, it does an incredibly good job. And when you have a person whose goal is just to make money, that's when it gets to its worst purpose. And yeah, that I think is if you got something you're actually trying to do that matters to you or to your community or to the world, then figure out what AI can do, and there will be bits that it can help you with. And there's a sort of real prioritization. One of the things that I'm let me say yes to that. Yes. one of the things that I really struggle with is the value of authenticity, because I work for myself. I'm completely independent, and some people would say I'm a control freak because I email invoices myself. My accounting software has a button that will email them based on a template, but I don't do enough invoicing that it's a problem. And I like the whole, hey, thanks so much. It was great working with you. Here's the bill. Let me know if you need anything else. And I could put that in a template and have it send it by itself. But, I'm not a faceless multinational. I have a newsletter you can reply to. Like, if you subscribe to my newsletter, it doesn't come from do not reply. It comes from me. And people reply to it and they say, that was cool, or that's interesting, or have you thought about this? And I reply to them and we have a chat. And, I suspect that if I had 100,000 subscribers, I would not be able to do that. But when you've got 1,000 and most of them don't read it anyway, I really, really like that, And, but obviously AI is like, well, I can do all this for you, but it will be me doing it. The people say I used AI to. Someone says you could replace that with I paid someone on Fiverr to.
Yes.
So I used AI to. I did a thing the other day. I gave it the ICS URL of my Google Calendar and said, how many days have I been in Schengen in the last 180? And it went crunch, 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 47. And I was like, oh, is it right? And it wasn't. It was close enough. And I could see why it wasn't, because there were some bits where it wasn't smart enough to infer that if you have a flight to Vilnius on this day and a flight from Vilnius on that day, you're obviously in Vilnius on all the days in between. Yes. Done. Here's what requirements 2.0. Cool. Yes. Spec it, baby.
No.
What?
So you're going to exit out and then load the architect.
We need to load the architect, don't we?
Yes.
See, this is why I was a terrible manager, is I forget demarcation. Thank you.
I mean, and talking of ADHD, have you ever found a rubber band on your wrist and you have no idea where it came from? I have no memory of putting that there, or where I found it, or what I was thinking. It's just appeared.
Yeah.
I really
Android X says
I need my meds.
Hating AI is like hating a hammer. The tool itself has many purposes. Yes. However, I will be the first to say that if you lived in a world where you got up one morning and there was a hammer in the fridge and there was a hammer in the car, and when you went to go to work, they said, why don't you go to work on a hammer? You'd get sick of hammers really quickly.
Yes.
No matter how good they are at knocking nails into timber. Right. What are we doing? We are Claude systems architecting, aren't we? Claude stuff. Having a tool that does something smart for 3 minutes and then you have to go back and pay attention to it is a total disaster for any kind of focused concentration. It really is. So many people are going to end up in therapy and on medication because of this. Claude minus system prompt file / Claude. Medium effort. Do we want our system architect bringing 110%, or are we happy with a nice good 70%? Medium's fine. Yeah. All right. Cool. I got a hard stop at 4 today, by the way, so we've got a 54 minutes left.
Awesome.
And then we'll do another one on Monday, and then next week I'm doing online workshops all week.
Yes.
But so if anyone
doing random streams on some of the other days, with a couple of things that I'm planning on looking at. One of them is we saw a thing called pencil.dev, and I want to do an exploration of that. It looks like Google have launched something called Stitch 2.0, which seems to be the same problem that they're trying to solve with it. And so I'm going to take a look at those. And I might take a look at some of these memory things. There's a kind of, and JetBrains Air. JetBrains' new task-focused agent management dashboard and see if that offers anything over Claude in the terminal. It already has one problem, which is that it doesn't have a Vim mode, which actually Claude does. Claude Code, you can turn on a Vim mode in this and then press escape and go like B, 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 B to move to the beginning of the previous word.
All right. Yep. What's the current state of the code base relative to these requirements? There's been work through phase 6. I do not know.
Oh my God. So, my desk is full of little things to fidget with to keep my hands busy while I do other things on the computer.
Did you ever see competitive fidget spinning?
Yes.
Yeah.
That made me so angry. It made me angry that it existed, that someone had gone, you know what we really need to do is find out who's best at this.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. You know, I'm feeling quite pleased with myself at the moment because I can nearly remember all the steps to do a Rubik's Cube. Except there's one thing where you're doing the second layer and getting the edges in the right places and the right orientation. And there's a movement that you can do effectively right-handed or left-handed. And I can do it right-handed without thinking about it at all. Left-handed, it just goes wrong. And I'm kind of like, which one of these am I? There's a move there that I'm doing wrong. And there's also the terrifying bit when you're orienting the corners on the bottom layer when you've finished.
Yeah.
Where as you're doing it, it gets into such a mess and the cube looks completely undone. And you're just kind of like going, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. But if you mess up, it's almost impossible to know where you messed up.
This cube is solved to the extent to which I can still solve a cube from memory. Because I can get like 90% of the way there using stuff that I baked into my brain when I was 14.
Hello, yes. So, yeah, I'm kind of at a similar place with this one, but that's...
Micro 500, I have not. I am so far removed from the world of competitive cubing.
I've watched some.
Yeah.
I've watched some on YouTube, and there was a kid from Poland a couple of weeks ago at like a competition, and he completed the 3x3x3 standard cube. They get to sort of pick it up and they can examine it, and sort of they're working out the steps to do it in their head. And it's like, it's not using patterns, it's just that needs to go to here and that needs to go to here, and this is the shortest number of steps I can think of to do it, like I am a goddamn machine. And then they put it back down on the table, and then someone goes go, and they have to pick it up, do the thing, and then put it back down and hit a device. 2.76 seconds.
Yeah.
This kid did a Rubik's Cube. And it's like, that's quarter of a second off the previous time. This was the first one, I think, sub 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just, oh dear. Thank goodness he's using his powers for something pointless. Because
do you think that speed cubing translates into nefarious capabilities?
No, but I think if he set his mind to it, you know, if he decided that I'm going to take the mental energy and the focus that I used to learn how to do a Rubik's Cube in less than 3 seconds and become evil, He would have like a lair in a volcano with a monorail within 5 years, which would be a problem because it turns out James Bond isn't real. So if anybody does actually build a volcano lair with a monorail, we are screwed.
Well, also, like, why would they need why did they put the lair in a volcano?
Because why wouldn't you?
Because many reasons.
Where should I put this? Because what you want is something where you can helicopter it and free
So,
heating, says Eli.
you know the city of Edinburgh.
Yes.
You know Edinburgh Castle.
Mm-hmm.
You know Edinburgh Castle sits on top of a giant granite plug because
Yes.
Edinburgh used to be a volcano, and like millions of years of erosion has failed to make a dent in the granity bit. If you wanted to put a base in a volcano, you're basically digging out. It's like taking a ball bearing wrapped in chocolate and digging out the ball bearing so you can put a base inside it without damaging the chocolate, so everyone just thinks it's a chocolate covered Malteser or something. It is just the most spectacularly daft piece of civil engineering imaginable.
But maybe that's why they do it. Maybe they think a volcano is the last place James Bond would look.
But there's a certain amount of reverse psychology because normally they're the ones who take him to the volcano.
Yes. I'm just going to put you on this table with this laser that will cut you in half in approximately 3.5 minutes. And then I'm going to walk away and trust that it will do its job.
That was the Watchmen film. One of my favorite things. I love that film. It is much maligned.
Best ending. The best ending.
Yes. And it improved.
Spoilers.
I thought it. So if you've not read Watchmen, first go and read the graphic novel because it is magnificent, and then watch the film, and then watch the film with the graphic novel on your lap in front of you, and look at how closely Zack Snyder followed the visuals, and like he almost uses it as a storyboard.
Yes,
you know, it's fantastic. Yeah, there are shots where you're like, oh, it's that, and it's so good, and
it's easily. It's so weird because, frankly, most of the rest of the stuff that Zack Snyder has done isn't great.
I liked his Justice League films. So Llewellyn says, is the analyst now doing architecture? No, we have switched personas. So this is now the architect.
Yes.
We're now talking to the architect. Sorry, you were saying Zack Snyder.
Yeah, have you seen the Snyder cut of Justice League?
Yes, I think
it's excruciating.
Was that the one that was in black and white?
Yes.
No, I haven't.
With like infinitely more cyborg stuff.
I have not seen the black and white cut. I knew it was out there.
It's 4 hours long.
Oh.
And
well, I've just booked flights to Toronto for NBC.
Well, there you go. There's something you can do on the flight.
So Rambling Geek, I set up aliases for the dev and the QA persona in my PowerShell profile. So when I run Claude Dev or Claude QA, it changes background color. But because we weren't using the requirements analyst and the architect persona in the last few sessions, I didn't wire in aliases for those. It has just occurred to me that something that might make this much nicer. The consoles are not optimized for reading large volumes of text. And I'm suddenly thinking that this would be much nicer if it was a nicer, more readable typeface. So monospace fonts, like I think this is Claude Code or Cascadia I'm using on here, not optimized for readability, really, really not. And this would be much nicer if it was using a nice readable font like Cambria on probably a sort of ivory background with black text on it. And that's busy. So I'm going to create a new profile. I don't know, settings and Windows profile.
I really like the hack font.
Let's make a new, how do I make a new profile? Profiles. No. Add a new profile. There we go. Let's duplicate my, is PowerShell my default? I can't remember how I do this. Oh,
Lord.
New empty profile. Appearance. I love all the things I'm using. I'm on Cascadia Mono. Oh, that's bastard mono. That's the font I made in which all of the semicolons and curly brackets are invisible so that .NET looks like Python. let's not do that one. See, I want a non-show all fonts. Yeah, there we go. So if we were in Cambria, let's go with solarized light. And yeah, bar cursor, that's fine. And padding around the text in the window. Now, if I set that to be like 240, sorry, 240. Okay. Okay. That looks... Okay. Wow. So I don't know if any of you folks have played around with variable typography, but does the PowerShell profile come with an Oh My Partial? Let's save that one. Let's just spin that up and see what we get if we open and name newspaper terminal. Okay, save that. Claude Code is still calculating. Error writing file. Good. Now I have the existing spec. Okay, cool. That's fine. Oh, yeah, that's nasty.
That is... Oh, I hate that on a visceral level. Ew.
Yeah, kill it with fire from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Kill it with fire. That's like, do you remember Windows 3.1?
Yeah.
Did you ever sort of, if somebody left their computer unlocked and walked away, and you could change the color scheme to hot dog?
Yes.
And it's like, why was that theme in Windows 3.1? Why was it even possible to set the color scheme to a violent combination of red and yellow, which I assume was like mustard and ketchup and mustard, whatever. But yes.
So according to Claude Chat, you cannot use non-monospaced fonts in thingy.
No,
it just doesn't. No. That's nice. Yeah. No, it just suddenly occurred to me that a lot of what we're doing here is trying to read basically documentation, you know, reams of verbose text intended for humans to read on a UI that is absolutely not optimized for doing that. Yes, allow all edits during this session. Created by Microsoft to assist visually impaired users. I don't believe that. I can see how it's a legitimate interpretation, but I think they did it like a lot of things in Windows because it wouldn't have been possible previously, and they wanted to show off what their new toy could do. I don't know. I'm being cynical. Yeah. Post hoc justification. Why did you do this? Because we accessibility.
Because the terminal is the natural habitat of software engineers.
Yeah.
Or it should be.
Yep. If you were not visually impaired when you switched to the hot dog feed.
Yes. I mean, there were people walking around with retina burn because I changed their theme to hot dog.
So
now
I
I can't see
managed
for the rest of the day.
the other day. I have a custom theme for Visual Studio, which I really like, which is a sort of deep black, proper black background with lots of neon synthwavy colors. And I tried to. It didn't work in Visual Studio 2026. So I asked Claude to, or maybe Copilot something, asked them to fix it, and I ended up with a theme that turned all of the UI dialogues into white on white, so I couldn't see anything, and I didn't know how to change it back.
So this is the last monospace font you will ever need, is
Comic Mono.
And I absolutely insist that you download it, install it, and use it as the. There you go.
Yeah. Dropbox fonts. So in my fonts folder, I have a lot of very useful fonts and a lot of novelty fonts and a couple of prank fonts. I've got one called Helvetica, Hellvetica, which is regular Helvetica, except the N has been replaced with an M, and that's it. And you do not notice the difference until you're reading something and you're like, why does it say Momo space? Like, I don't like
Momo.
it.
Ducky Momo.
Apparently there was a Facebook thing called Lemkthbook, which was just a Facebook meme where you didn't use the letter N in your Facebook posts. It emerged out of one of the cat groups, and just yeah.
I briefly owned the domain. So you know when you buy domains, and then
I don't buy domains. What are you talking about? No.
But yes, for a while I owned foadbook.com, where it's FO and die. And the idea was that when you joined, you automatically became friends with every single other person on the platform, and you actually had to click a button that said F off and die to unfriend them. So it was an antisocial network, because having somebody deny your friend request is one thing. Having somebody go to the trouble of unfriending you.
Yeah.
And so yes, every post that you do has an F off and die button attached to it. Probably a good job that Claude didn't exist and I never got to build that, because it sounds like the sort of thing that kids would use for bullying now I reflect on it.
Hello, Leafed2716. We are building a multi-track video and audio player application for use on stage during live music performances. And today we are having fun with the fact that using Claude Code with agents and personas, it has got something which kind of 90% works, but it isn't usable. And so in today's session, we're basically going back to the original requirements analyst persona and having a little chat with that and going, this is good, but it's not quite there. And there's a bunch of stuff we don't like. And that has produced an updated specification, which we have just fed to a architect. And did I just say ship it to the wrong person? No, I didn't. It's fine. This is going to... that's picked up an agent, hasn't it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's using the developer agent. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Dorothy says, are you people old enough to remember Usenet? Yes.
I am absolutely old enough to remember alt.binaries. And various other channels.
Comp.graphics.rendering.raytracing was where I used to spend my days talking about PovRay and doing things with shiny balls on chessboards.
Okay.
So yeah.
Alt.atheism, because I enjoyed Flame Wars. Oh, and was it comp.editors.emacs?
The other group I spent a lot of time on was uk.people.gothic, which was very fun in the days when...
I don't remember that at all.
Well, there was this period where if you were a goth, there was a 95% chance you were also a Linux system administrator.
Yes. Yes. But no, I remember Usenet with the terminal, like the Unix character mode client and everything.
So the
and
Hubber
Links browser.
official says old enough to remember Links browser. I still use Links on an almost daily basis, because to me, Links is the absolute. If your website is built properly and it's not a massive pile of shit, you can use Links to browse it and order things and spend money. And that is my absolute. If something is properly built, the HTML semantic, it's accessible, it's got progressive enhancements. That to me is like the sort of gold standard of web craft, is building sites that work on iPhones and work on tablets and work on those 57-inch widescreens, but they also work in Links. So I use it all the time and find little things like if something doesn't work right in Links, it's normally because you're like, oh yeah, I could probably have tweaked that. And it's also a fantastic proxy for how well it works for somebody using a screen reader, because it strips out everything which is not text. And yeah, Links is brilliant.
Okay.
There it is. Look at that. That's my website in the Links.
That is interesting.
And one of the things you notice is, oh, there's this nav menu right at the top every time. And it actually makes sense. I haven't got around to doing this on here yet, but now CSS, things like grid and flexbox and relative positioning are good enough that you could put this content at the end, but then visually move it to the top. So if you're just reading the page, all the nav links appear in the footer. You cannot sign up to the newsletter using Links because, oh no, you can. Look at this. Let's sign up. Dylan at Dylan BT. No, I'm on my own mailing list. Let's do Links. Don't think that's going to work because it's a hosted snippet that does a background response to MailChimp.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I bet it doesn't run that malware from the Can podcast platform either. So Claude is concocting. Yeah, Links is brilliant.
Yes. What model is this currently using?
Now this is on Opus, which is because we changed the analyst to use Opus, but that apparently persisted into the new session when we spun up the architect. Or did we have the architect using Opus in the first place? Is it Opus or Opus?
Opus.
Because Opus is what Magnum things are, but Opus was the penguin from Bloom County.
Yeah, no, it's Opus. It's definitely Opus.
Okay. I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yes. But no, so Usenet, I forgot.
Yes.
I really, really, really just liked arguing when I was that age. And so alt.atheism, where you could argue with religious people, and whatever the two Usenets were for the Emacs and VI editors. Because holy wars. And I mean, that was legitimately, you would get people arguing about Windows and Mac. You would get people arguing about sort of this programming language versus that programming language. But I don't think, I mean, you would get people arguing about, oh, this thing proves that God is real, and other people going, that's from the book, though. The book you're saying, and all that sort of stuff. But nothing ever got anywhere near the actual visceral hatred that VI users had for Emacs and vice versa. And I was very much a VI user. Not least because we couldn't run Emacs because we had 8 of us on a Tandem 286.
This is Amazon.co.uk in Links. and click
the button below to continue shopping. What?
Button. Yeah, A, always allow cookies. Yep, done.
That's so weird.
No, we're in a loop. You can't even get into Amazon.co.uk and links. What's another fun website we can look at while Claude is churning away in the background? And
Bing.
Bing. Let's Bing some stuff. Allow cookie, always. Sign in. Sign in.
And the alt text from your profile picture
is profile picture. I don't know how well it comes through on the screen share. Your browser isn't supported anymore. To continue your search, upgrade to a recent version.
No.
It's got a Kagi. We like Kagi. Kagi's good.
Yes, we do like Kagi.
Kagi are making headlines at the moment because they built that translate thing. Cool. Look, okay. Kagi seems to at least render something. Claude has now been concocting for 9 minutes.
Yes. Yes, Kagi Translate. Eli's mentioned Kagi Translate in the
I'm going to actually bring that up. So, but basically, while Claude's doing stuff,
so good.
We're like, yeah, we might as well just goof off and do dumb stuff. So Kagi Translate. Oh no, hang on. That's StreamYard. That should be over there, and Claude can go over there, and Kagi Translate is there. And the fun thing about Kagi Translate is that this drop down here is free text. So you can change this into LinkedIn speak, and then you could do like, I tried to do a killer move with nunchucks, but accidentally hit myself in the nuts. Which in LinkedIn speak translates to, I recently attempted to execute a high-impact strategic maneuver with specialized equipment, but unfortunately I encountered an unexpected operational failure that resulted in a significant personal setback. This experience was a powerful reminder of the importance of risk management and the need for continuous skill development. In the fast-paced world of martial arts and business, even the most ambitious initiatives can lead to painful learning opportunities if not executed with precision. Failure is just a stepping stone to growth. Grateful for the resilience this moment has built. Hashtag growth mindset. Hashtag risk management. Hashtag lessons learned. Hashtag operational excellence. Hashtag resilience.
Yes. Also, very obviously AI, because it says in the fast-paced world of, which is just along with delve.
Now the question is, can we flip it around?
It hurt and I looked like an idiot. I'm trying to act like this was a learning opportunity so I don't feel like a complete loser for hurting myself while trying to show off.
I'm just going to keep like ripping this backwards and forwards.
I'm
See where it
desperate for
ends up.
validation. I'm desperate for validation. Is anyone else willing to embarrass themselves for attention? Just actually, you know what? Next stream, we're just going to do this.
Just do this for half an hour.
We're going to do a Kagi translate. I'm going to actually. This might work well on vertical streaming.
So Kagi make money because people like me pay them to be a search engine with no ads, which they do brilliantly. Kagi is my default web search. So they do actually have money, and therefore something like this is probably just a really interesting promo thing for them. At some point, they got to be like, by the way, you can pay money for all this other stuff that we do. There's a browser extension. Oh, I'm going to install it. Yes, and then I'm going to go to LinkedIn and I'm going to tell it to translate it into English. Where's the add to Chrome? There we go. Yes, add extension. I trust Kagi.
Sorry,
nothing.
Did Google's Chrome store fail to be sufficiently responsive that it could keep the install button?
Yes.
Visit. For God's sake.
Yeah, that's exactly what just happened. That's the Google thing, and if you make that smaller,
that is ridiculous.
I mean, that normally means that there is some embedded content. No, that's just not scaling. Yeah,
that's not scaling at all.
I'm better at building websites than Google. Give me all your money.
Problem is the days when you could be proud of that are kind of.
So now what we do is we go to linkedin.com and we go to there and we pin Kagi translate and we say Kagi translate
entire
page. No, but I want to specify settings. How do you, there must be a
language.
way to,
there's a language tab at the top. So default target language.
That's not, you can't, no. So you, okay. That was going so well until it didn't. Huh. Yeah. I mean, we can still.
We can make our own browser extension.
Yeah. We probably can, you know. Where was that thing? Right click that.
Oh, yeah. I need to finish up. That's just reminded me I need to finish my browser extension that automatically plays songs on Spotify when you start playing the interactive tab in Ultimate Guitar.
Why can't I copy and paste? What's happened? I broke the internet.
If a new boss doesn't do anything useful in the first month, they're probably useless.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the LinkedIn speak there is not the worst LinkedIn speak.
Let's find something worse. Let's find a promote from an AI person.
Hang on.
There we go. Promoted by Scale Up Finance. I'm bouncing all this through VS Code because I can't paste directly into here from. It can only do so much.
Yeah.
Because the structure is so horribly formulaic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well. Maybe it doesn't need a browser extension. 16 minutes.
19 minutes to go.
What do we think?
Stop.
Is it going to work?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I am very much a glass half empty, and also someone's probably pissed in it kind of person. Hashtag fixed mindset. Hashtag cynicism. Okay, programming as theory building. Nor's central argument is that programming should be understood as the activity of building a theory in the programmer's mind. He draws on Ryle's philosophical notion of theory, which encompasses not just knowing facts, but knowing how to do things, explain them, and respond to novel situations. The theory a programmer builds has three key properties that transcend any written artifact: the ability to explain how a solution maps to the real world, to justify why each part is what it is, and to respond constructively to demands for modification. This understanding cannot be fully captured in the documentation because it depends on tacit knowledge. Program life, death, and revival. A program is alive while the team holding its theory remains intact. When that team disperses, the program is effectively dead. It may still run, but cannot be intelligently modified. Revival requires rebuilding the theory from scratch, which now argues is often cheaper than attempting it from documentation alone. Interesting. On methodology, now is skeptical. If theory building has no inherent sequence, there can be no correct universal method. The appended applying
Peter
theory.
Nauer Bacchus-Nauer?
Bacchus-Nauer form, yeah.
And John Bacchus.
Yes. So Bacchus-Nauer form evolved from Bacchus normal form. So they changed what the existing acronym stood for. But so Bacchus created Bacchus normal form to describe Algol, and Peter Nauer was one of the other people on the Algol committee, and he went, I have some ideas. And rather than call it Bacchus normal form 2, they changed it to Bacchus Nauer form. But it's still, you know, I imagine that you've probably got a BNF for Rockstar somewhere.
I don't. I have a parsing expression grammar.
You could probably generate a BNF.
I was just about to say,
from the peg.
We can probably go to github.com/rockstarlang/code where the Rockstar is there. And in the interpreter, somewhere in here, Rockstar will be a peg file. Rockstar.peg, there we go, raw file. Copy that lot. Let's open our little Claude friend. Yes. This is my job now, is I just push yes every few minutes.
Yes.
And apparently once you've worked out how to automate yes, you're a 100x developer. So, yeah.
Apparently, F off in LinkedIn speak translates to, I would encourage you to pursue a swift transition to your next chapter as we sunset our current alignment. And don't come back! I just, yes, fun.
It is interesting seeing how just offensively terse you can be.
Oh, yeah, people frown on that. Why are you in co-work?
I don't know. It's there.
Are they just defaulting to co-work now to try and get you to use it?
No. It's what I was in last time. I was trying to translate a presentation.
Right. I'll let them off for that. They keep putting a blue dot on it on my desktop, going, oh, don't forget that this is here.
Yeah.
New, dispatch tasks to Claude from anywhere, even your phone. What? See, I have to say, something that's fairly high up my shopping list once if I can sell some of these workshops and get the damn thing bloody working to start with. I want a Mac Mini that is just sitting here on this desk that has Claude running, or ideally actually has the daemons backend running that I can communicate with through a cute animated animal. But yeah, the ability to kind of go, oh, but I should do that and just kick things off running on a machine. And yeah, the M5 Pro with 128 gigs of RAM, run a fairly decent model with that on a Mac. Which cute animated animal? At the moment, it's a raven. And I will get it working. Again, I don't know where this came from, so this is the challenge. This guy with his Mac Mini and his P-Base. Yes, and stuff. I'm not asking people to buy me a Mac Mini, although if you do, it's the M5 Pro with 128 gigs of RAM. But yes, this is what I want to do, is experiment with local LLM setups. I am currently extremely limited. This M3 Max only has 36 gigabytes of RAM, which is not enough to run a useful model, I would say.
So I got LM Studio up and running here, and I've
on
got
Windows.
Wow.
Okay.
And I've got the 60 gig GPT OSS model downloaded into it.
Yeah.
So this is completely local. And give it a second to wake up and figure out what it's doing.
That's not going to fit on your GPU, though, is it?
No. No, I don't think so. I don't know what GPU I've got.
How can you not know what GPU you've
got? It'll be in here somewhere. No.
About?
System information.
Oh, there you go.
Claude says, here's your translation. Visual Studio Code. There, look, it made an empty file.
It's sort of on the right there, though.
Oh yeah, there it is. Copy, done, paste. Yeah, this is that thing where you kind of like going, is this right? I don't know. It's probably right. No, this is right.
I honestly, I don't know enough about this kind of theory of programming languages stuff. I'm an imposter. I'm sure
the best way, if you want to get your head around something like BNF, is take a look at something like the Bacchus now for. So like the BNF for an email address is a really, really interesting way of kind of figuring out the no, I don't want that one. It's in one of the RFCs, but that's probably doing an exact verbatim search. Because everyone knows what an email address looks like, or they think they do. Most people actually don't, but they're 95% of the way there. And so, okay, there you go. That's an example, a postal address. So a US postal address is it's a name part and then a street address and then a zip part. And then a name part is a personal part, last name, or an optional suffix part, followed by an end of line, or it's a personal part followed by a name part. And then a personal part is a first name or an initial followed by a dot. And so you very quickly get a sense for, okay, it's so this bit can be a one of these or a one of these or a nothing. Doesn't need to be there. And it's lovely. I really like it as a representation. Kind of like what Peter Noah was talking about with the model things. Like to me, a BNF grammar is a way of saying, no, somebody figured out how this language works. And this is how they decided to write that down. All looks clean. Let me use the QA agent to do a final review across all changes before we call it done.
Yes.
Are we accidentally building up to the episode 9 cliffhanger where we get to the end and it's like, because that's what we should do, is we should not test it. We should be like, tune in next time and see what happens.
Yes. I mean, actually, I think we are.
I just hit 97% of my limit as well.
But you've got
we're running this with
extra usage turned on.
I do have extra usage turned on.
But yes, that is because you're running the orchestrator with Opus. You're now using extra usage. Your session limit resets at 8 p.m.
Oof, right in the MasterCard. Hello, welcome to the stream. Today we are burning money.
Yes. See, this is interesting because this now suggests that what you actually want to do is so the analyst, using the analyst as an agent, you'd be wanting it to relay questions back to you. But in the agent files, you can sort of specify in the front matter, you can say this model uses Opus, this model uses Opus, this one uses Sonnet, and this one uses Sonnet, and then use a Sonnet session in Claude Code that just uses those agents to do things.
We'll do that in the next one. So the thing I wanted to show you, so this is GPT OSS 120B, and if I say to it, do your work offline,
that's surprisingly fast.
Yeah. It is not as good, nothing like as good as the latest versions of Claude, but this is local. Like I tried this with the internet disconnected, and it says, no, I'm an AI that runs on OpenAI servers. So when you're chatting with me, and you can go further and say, no, you're not on the internet right now. What does that thing there do? Oh, that's the integration plugin.
So yeah,
but I thought, like, I sort of like, it doesn't know it's a brain in a jar, poor thing. And then I thought, stop anthropomorphizing the torment nexus. It's an algorithm. One day you're going to have to take it out the back and kill it with a golf club. It'll be easier if you don't give it a name.
But no, I mean, the current leader in terms of local models that you can run locally would be Qwen 3.5, which is Alibaba, I think, the Chinese site.
So I've read about a couple of people who are spinning up, instead of using like a OpenAI or a Claude subscription, they are spinning up clusters of GPUs in the cloud for, you know, like $100 a day, but then using that to run the Qwen model locally, as in it's completely on their infrastructure, stuff that they own and control, and just switching it off when they're not using it, because that way the model is stable and it doesn't get, you know, patched or upgraded without them explicitly doing something with it.
Yes. But yeah, the 9 billion parameter model, I'm just going to load LM Studio.
So Dojo Drummer's talking about human names being hard to handle and mentions Jennifer Null. People called Null, it's a name that people have, and those people get an awful lot of parking tickets that were not intended for them. And there was that a story about someone they got a vanity license plate that was like null or undefined or something, and they started getting shitloads of traffic violations because suddenly select star from vehicles where license plate equals null was like, we found him. Wow. So Claude's QA agent has just written a Python script that's going to fix the XAML. All right.
Yeah.
Do you ever get the moment where you're like, if you were working with a dev team and you said, what are you doing? And one of your colleagues was like, oh, I've written a Python script to fix the XAML. You'd been like, is that really the best way to do the thing we hired you to do?
Yeah.
But Leaf 2716. What are you using for Claude? So this is Claude Code, which is you install it and it runs on your terminal. It's running on Windows inside a Windows terminal using a PowerShell host with just a couple of tweaks and bits and pieces. But Claude Code runs inside your terminal. So whatever terminal you normally run, you can run Claude in it. So, and that's what Claude Code is it's not an IDE or a browser or anything. It's a console application, because developers love them some console applications.
Yes, they do.
Let's just try. So this is LM Studio running locally, and I'm gonna give it that wherever we put that peg file. Where's my? There we go. Copy that. Just because I'm curious. Two minutes. The QA review agent is currently caramelizing.
So yeah, the full size Quen requires well, the download is 420 gigabytes, and then you need to add on 20% for working memory and KV cache and those sorts of things. So then you're looking at half a terabyte of RAM, which means that if you spent, I think it's 10 grand to get the M3 Ultra Max Studio with 8 terabytes of disk and half a terabyte of RAM, it's got 512 gigs of memory, unified memory. And this is where Apple are currently kicking.
Look at this, implementation complete with like 15 seconds to go.
We'll test this on Monday.
Yes,
Proper
we will.
Cliffhanger.
Look at that. Did it work?
That's it.
We don't know. Tune in on Monday afternoon and we will run it and see if it actually worked or not.
Yes. Find out in part 9. Oh, excellent. You're not allowed to test it. You have to
I promise. I absolutely promise. I will probably push it all to GitHub just so it's somewhere in case my machine blows up over the weekend.
Some other swine will download it and test it and stuff. So yes.
Okay. Well, I guess that if we lose all our work, all we've got to do is say to Claude, do it again, and then talk bobbins for another 45 minutes, and we can probably manage that.
Yes. And 07 Rain says this is part 9. Don't
part 10.
Girl with the random elastic band on her wrist that no idea where it came from. I don't know what they're doing. My life is pure, unadulterated chaos.
I bet there's a attack vector here you haven't considered, which is you've not had long hair before. And if you're in the habit of tying things around your wrist to remind you got to do a thing, but then you've got your hair tied back because you're eating or something, and you used a rubber band because it's the only thing you had, and then you take the rubber band out of your hair and you put it around your wrist.
It definitely wasn't that, because I've got proper these. I bought like 25 of these on the thing, and they're everywhere.
Yeah,
the thing is empty, but these, like every single pair of jeans that I own has one in the pocket. It just goes through the wash with the jeans.
Yeah. We're going to test that on Monday.
Yes.
You all have a lovely weekend, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found all of that entertaining and insightful. And those of you catching up on the YouTube streams, don't forget to like and subscribe. We have to say that because that's how it works now. I'm going to go and play with my Rubik's Cube now. See you soon, folks. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.